Big story this morning as the Pentagon confirms to Fox that a U.S. airstrike in Libya likely killed an Al-Qaeda leader. 2 F-15 fighter jets dropped multiple 500-pound bombs on this area against a terrorist who was responsible for the attack on the gas plant in Algeria back in 2013. You all remember our coverage of this story. It was awful. 3 of those who were killed in that attack were American citizens. KT McFarland is Fox News national security analyst and former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense in the Reagan administration. KT, good morning. Good to have you. Lot to talk about here. But first of all, who is he, and is he really a huge get?
If we got him, yeah, and we probably did get him. I mean, look, Al-Qaeda's not going. Al-Qaeda's come out and said, no, you didn't really get him. But they're not going to come out, Martha, and say, oh yeah, you got him. They're going to, they're going to pretend that, oh no, it was no big deal. The issue, he is a big guy because he killed Americans. It's always a good day when you kill a terrorist kingpin, especially one that has killed Americans. But I look at this and say, let's not get distracted by a one good kill, because where's the overall plan? Is the overall plan that we're just going to kill him like whack-a-mole here, whack-a-mole there? Or is there some bigger plan to defeat and destroy ISIS? I don't think there is. ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Remember, the president has said we're going to defeat and destroy Al-Qaeda. He said we're going to defeat and destroy ISIS. But yet both seem to be growing, especially in Libya.
Last week we did a story about how ISIS is so financially troubled, they're falling apart, there's nothing left of ISIS. Of Al-Qaeda. And we also have been covering out how dicey the Libya situation is and how much ISIS has been growing there. So what's the true picture where this man was killed, and what kind of comprehensive strategy do we need in Libya? Libya has not been, in the foremost of everyone's minds on this, but it should be, perhaps.
And it should be. Here's why. Because, well, first of all, this was Hillary Clinton's war, right? We're going to go and topple Gaddafi because of humanitarian concerns that he's going to kill people. What's
Imminent.
Libya now? It's jihadi chaos. Al-Qaeda's there, ISIS is there. And why is that important? Because a lot of it is because of the geography. First of all, it's to the west of Egypt. And if this fighting spills over into Egypt, Egypt is the crown jewel of the Middle East. If something goes bad with Egypt, if they're destabilized, if there are a lot more Al-Qaeda, Islamic extremists, Muslim Brotherhood attack in Egypt, that's bad for the whole region. But secondly, Libya's right next to Europe. It's a boat ride away, and there have been refugees on those boats fleeing the fighting from Libya, going to Italy. Once they're in Italy, they're in your European Union, they can move all over. Now, maybe it's people who are leaving because they're political refugees, economic refugees, but salted in that group is going to be extremists who would like nothing more than to get a foothold in Europe, move around and do attacks.
ISIS has already claimed that some of them have gotten across and into Italy and are infiltrating Europe in that way. So it is a very serious concern. This guy, Mokhtar, right? He was with AQIM originally, Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb. That group, I guess, dissolved, and then he was with another group. But what about this whole question of Northern Africa? And, it goes back to the issue of whether or not the president has a strategy. Because, as you say, it's not just one guy, but there's a huge problem in North Africa as a whole, correct?
Yeah, and, where are we now? Okay, we're now 15 years again, the war on terror, Islamic extremism. And whether it's President Bush's policy, President Obama's policy, we have now seen radical Islamists are in more places, in more countries, in greater strength than ever before. National boundaries are disappearing so that these Islamic groups, they may change their name, they may change their affiliation, but their goal is jihadi chaos. And if it's ISIS, their goal is a caliphate to take over the world. I look at this and say, my concern is that we're looking at a generation of fighting that's ultimately Shiite versus Sunni. It's going to become more and more radicalized. The weapons are going to be more potent. I'm not sure what anybody's going to do in this. I just want to make sure that whatever fighting happens doesn't come home to the United States.
Libya is a failed state already.
Yeah,
and that makes it a breeding ground for all of this. KT, thank you very much.
Thanks, Martha.
Unfortunately, more to come from there, too. Martha, thanks.